Hello there, and welcome to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Dave Riedel. My pronouns are he, him. I write about movies, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast.
And my name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
Yeah.
Yowza.
So, on the show this week, we're going to be talking about movies. Big surprise. Surprise, as I just said, because apparently I do that now. Big surprise.
Surprise is even more exciting. Yeah. It's even more of a shock.
More of a shock. It's shock and surprise mashed together. It's a portmanteau, if you will.
Yes. So, love a portmanteau.
Before we talk about the movies we're going to talk about, over on ye old Patreon, we are talking about the 60th anniversary. Is it the 60th anniversary? 36 plus 20 plus 4? Yeah, 60th anniversary. Of Doctor Strange. We're not talking about the anniversary. We're talking about Doctor Strangelove because it's the 60th anniversary. We have 2 first-timers for Doctor Strangelove. Oh, they claim to be Kubrick fans, but it was their first time. I'm just making this all up. Not the first time part. They hadn't seen it.
And not the Kubrick fan part, because we are Kubrick
right.
fans.
Okay. Fair enough. So anyway, if you are a patron, please go check that out. And if you're not a patron, please consider becoming one. For $5 a month. You can vote in a monthly poll, which we will be putting up later. This comes out on Friday. So I'll be putting it out. Maybe it's out already. Maybe I put it out today. Who knows? I don't live and die by you guys. Anyway, you get to do a poll each month, and we do extra audio each week about a movie, usually an older movie that you've probably seen. So I
didn't know Lou, the guy who runs our Patreon, just kind of dropped in the studio for a second there.
You guys, you didn't spend enough time on a Patreon this week. What the fuck? So, fuck off, Lou. So anyway, that's Patreon. And while I'm here talking about patrons and things like that, I would like to thank our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you for being our sponsor piece patron.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. All
right, now getting down to brass tacks, if you will. We are going to be talking about, what's the full name of Furiosa? Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Not a Mad Max story, a Mad Max saga. I think that's an important
Damn right.
distinction. I'm really having a problem with the words today.
And you have a case of the giggles.
I do. We're also going to be talking about the new J-Lo film, Atlas, and we will be talking about the new Richard Linklater, Glenn Powell film, Hitman. But first, I'm talking about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. This is the latest George Miller. Why does it take him so long between Mad Maxes to make another Mad Max, except for the first 2? I don't know. Australians are weird.
Because he's a genius.
I mean, I tell you, he's got the visual flair. He knows where to put a camera and how to shoot a scene. He wrote this with Nick Luthouris, and I think that he was in one of the Mad Max movies as an actor, not George Miller, but Nick Luthouris. And this stars Anya Taylor-Joy as adult Furiosa. And if you remember, Furiosa is the Charlize Theron character from Mad Max Fury Road. So anyway, that's Anya Taylor-Joy. Chris Hemsworth is the bad guy in this one, wearing a strangely appropriate false nose. And this is basically about how Furiosa goes from the place of many mothers and the green things, or whatever it's called, in Fury Road, and ends up sort of a prisoner, but sort of not a prisoner in the Citadel with Immortan Joe. And I have to just go ahead and say, I didn't love this. Not because...
I'm shocked.
Well, there are 2 things. One, there's some corny CGI in this.
Ooh.
Yeah, all the CGI, and there's not much, although there is CGI in Fury Road. Really well done. But I think this is just a little too reliant on it. I don't know. There are some really big wide shots where clearly the cars that are driving across the desert are not driving across the desert. It's just pixels. And there's just there's just some corniness that way. And also the other thing about this, and it doesn't make me, I don't dislike it, but this is a character piece. This is not an action movie. There are action sequences, but it is not like Fury Road, which starts at 100% and continues at 100% from start to finish. Even when they get to like the place that used to be the green place, you know, you still got the people on their tail that Max goes and fucking beats him to death and then comes back covered in blood. And Furiosa's like, it's not his blood. Like, that's right. It's Max's blood. Not Max's blood. Fuck, whatever. So anyway, first of all, Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't show up as adult Furiosa for like an hour. So Child Furiosa is an hour of this movie. And she's fine, but she doesn't talk because she decides to become like willfully mute, shall we say, after she's kidnapped by Chris Hemsworth. Actually, she's not kidnapped by his character, but she's taken to him. But the thing that I do like about this a lot is Chris Hemsworth. His performance is fucking crazy. And each time I think, well, we know what Chris Hemsworth does. He's got the body of an action star, but he clearly doesn't want to be an action star. And he's got great comic timing. And when I saw that he was in this, I was like, what are they doing with Chris Hemsworth in this? And let me tell you, he is just, his character is insane. Just a power hungry, dumb, but strangely, he's dumb. I mean, he's legitimately not very bright, but he's lived in such a way that he's got like the wisdom of his experience informs what he does now. And so he understands how to use pain and suffering and things like that to his advantage. But he's also hilarious because he says these things and you're like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And then you think about it and you're like, well, that actually makes sense. So maybe he's not as dumb as I think he is. But I mean, it's a lot of yapping, a lot of brooding. And that makes sense because Furiosa's character in Fury Road is not a happy person. She's taking a bunch of women who have been kidnapped to be basically bred by Immortan Joe, and she's driving them across, Australia, even though it was shot in, I think, Namibia. I'm not sure. This one was shot in Australia. Anyway, it's fine. It's not Fury Road. So don't go in there expecting that, I guess. It looks for the most part good. It looks good except for the CGI stuff. I am really surprised how corny the CGI looks to me.
That is shocking.
Maybe it's because when you put it up against Fury Road, one, there isn't as much. Two, what there is really well done. And here,
but I have to say,
go ahead.
I got excited. I'm so excited to see this, and I was worried you'd spoiler piece me out of it, and luckily you didn't. But I have to say, I'm actually kind of glad that it's different than Fury Road because I feel like every Mad Max is different.
Yeah, that's true.
In various ways, and so I'm kind of glad about that. But that is weird about the
Thunderdome
visuals.
is definitely a different animal from the Road Warrior.
Listen, Thunderdome was my favorite Mad Max
until Fury
unabashedly, unapologetically. Until Fury Road.
I mean, yes. I think that Fury Road is just kind of, it's almost a perfect movie because, they had this franchise that had been dormant for 30 years? Was it 30 years between those two? And they're like, if we're going to go ahead and spend $175 million, this is going to be nonstop, epic, huge, fucking crazy. Absolutely. Yes. And it is amazing.
It delivers.
I've told everybody I know to see that movie, and everyone who has been like, "You're right, it's amazing. I can't fucking."
I think that is a perfect movie. You said it's a near. I think it is a perfect movie. I will go for it.
I got to watch it again, and then we will confer.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But anyway, yeah, that's where I come down on Furiosa. I wouldn't, you're not going to get an action piece like Fury Road. And I will say it is a compelling story, but at the same time, I think I could have used a little more Anya Taylor-Joy. The other thing is she doesn't speak a lot. She does a lot with her eyes and her face and things like that. And I don't think she has one of the more expressive actorly faces. So at least not thus far. So it's an interesting choice. She looks very stoic a lot of the time, which is fine. It's a perfectly fine choice to look that way. But I just kind of wonder if, maybe a little more emoting. But then again, you've got Chris Hemsworth, who's out of his fucking mind and who is amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Right now, he's my number one best supporting actor choice.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
amazing.
Without question.
Nice.
That is incredible. I think he's so funny.
He's so underrated,
especially after
as far as acting goes.
Especially in Ghostbusters, the 2016 one. He is hilarious.
He's the only funny thing in that movie.
He
Agreed.
I like that movie, but that movie's not funny, but he is hilarious. Yeah. He's so good. So I'm delighted to hear that he is so good.
Okay. Well, good. So we're all delighted about Furiosa. So. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to be talking about, this is J-Lo's new movie. This is Atlas. This is on Netflix. It's a movie. And let me read.
It is indeed a movie.
I mean, it resembles a movie. Here's your one sentence IMDb summary. In a bleak sounding future, who fucking wrote that line? In a bleak sounding future? How about in a bleak future? The fuck? Who are these fucking people? In a bleak sounding future, an AI soldier has determined that the only way to end war is to end humanity. He's not a soldier. I mean, did you even see the goddamn thing? So this is J-Lo's new movie. And it's about how, AI is terrible until it's cute and cuddly. And how do we do this? Her mother invents, what's the guy's name?
Harlan.
Thank you.
Yep. Played by Simu Liu.
Played by Simu Liu. And I would say I pretty compellingly, I think, his performance. But he's this AI robot who is built to be to assist humans and be like kind of make humans better. Sort of the perfect AI. And J-Lo, when she's a child, is kind of jealous that he gets so much attention from her mother and she doesn't get as much as she used to. So she thinks if I can become more like him, she'll pay more attention. She's not trying to sabotage. She's not like, fuck you, Harlan. There's none of that. They're very careful to portray this as an innocent mistake, which it is. And so Harlan says, well, if you link with me and we sync minds, basically, then you can read my thoughts, I can read your thoughts, and we'll learn from each other and we'll become even more perfect. Well, unfortunately, when he starts reading her mind or whatever the fucking thing you want to call it, is he sees, death and destruction and nuclear catastrophe. And, imagine, the scene from Terminator 2 Judgment Day on the playground, but goes by faster. And so he just decides in that moment that like, well, I got to kill everyone. And so when the movie,
or most of the people, and then like we'll take the survivors and then we'll make a new better human race.
That's exactly what he says. He's like, we'll take this, whoever survives will become a new, better human race. And the thing that's amazing, he's like, I'm doing this because I love you. And you're like, I don't know if this is the right way to be like, I understand where you're going, but
that's not my love language, Harlan.
Yeah, isn't that the language of abusers?
It is.
I'm doing this terrible thing because I love you.
It is. And I think it's actually not a great choice for the movie to use that, but okay. I can see why they would. So J-Lo is the daughter. She's Atlas, which I cannot believe the fucking character's name is Atlas. It's like,
did she shrug the entire time?
I don't know. I mean, she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders, though. In case you couldn't figure it out for yourself, I just told you. Anyway, so they figure out Harlan leaves Earth. They figure out where he is. They're going to go to this planet that's uncharted, everything like that. And underused Sterling K.
Thank you.
Brown is is he a colonel? Is a general? I don't remember. And he's guiding all these people, and of course it's a trap. And there's they get into these things called arcs. I don't know what it stands
It's
for.
a mech suit.
Yes,
It's a mech suit, and you're supposed to interface with the AI, and the ship gets blown up that they're in because Harlan sees them coming. It was all a ruse. And so they crash land on the planet and everybody dies but J-Lo and Sterling K. Brown. But Sterling K. Brown gets kidnapped by Harlan, and J-Lo's got to interface with her AI and learn to trust him and stop the bad guys. And ultimately she does. Have I left anything out? Aside from the fact that you can tell that I didn't love this from the disdain clearly in my voice. Let's see what you two thought before I, do what I do. Evan, what do you think?
Okay. Well, I was excited to see this for J-Lo. I think she's been on kind of a tear lately, and she's been in kind of a lot of a random smattering of different projects. And I was kind of about the messy hair, black rim glasses J-Lo we get at the beginning of the movie. It's kind of about it. But yeah, I think my biggest issue is that this movie feels incredibly derivative. And it doesn't bring a lot that's new to the table. And Dave, you have already mentioned T2, and this movie heavily cribs from T2.
Heavily.
Especially in the last act of the movie, where they're just recreating scenes and elements from T2. When, Harlan's on top of her mech suit, stabbing her with a sword through the thing. It's just like when Sarah Connor gets her shoulder stabbed by the T-1000. And then Harlan's face gets blown up and you can see his exposed eyeball with his, metal skull that's like straight out of T2.
Well, they do the elevator thing too with the sharp object.
So, yeah, it's a bummer because I think it's not a bad premise. It's like AI turning on humans and deciding humans shouldn't exist because we're going to destroy ourselves. We've seen that done before. I kind of liked the elements involving the sink and her kind of battling the, I've had this AI, abuse me and take advantage of me, and I can only see the negative to it, and kind of like learning over time, okay, I can trust this other AI and we're stronger when we work together. I kind of liked that premise. But it just feels too familiar. It's just a lot of elements we've already seen and not done very well, and it doesn't look good at all. I think the movie makes so many rapid cuts so that you don't focus too long on how bad it looks.
Yes.
In the action sequence. It literally felt like the movie was trying to stay ahead of my eyeballs by cutting so fast I couldn't have time to notice how bad everything looked, but I still did anyway. So it's just a bummer. I thought this was going to be a lot more fun than it turned out to be. And one of the things I did actually like, though, was I like the interior design of the arcs. I love that they kind of made it look like in a car interior, because like these people are spending so much time inside there. It would make sense they would need to be like more comfortable and homey, especially given how much time she spends in the movie in hers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was a cool design choice. When they open up the inside, it looks like a car interior. It looks comfortable, cozy. Some place you'd actually want to spend, and not all like jagged metal designs that you typically see in these movies. Oh, I'm trying to remember. There were a bunch of other movies that I thought of when I was watching this. I should look at my notes. Pacific Rim was another one that came to mind, especially the whole like
definitely
plugging your brain in and syncing up with The Matrix, Minority Report. There's just so many elements.
Existence by David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I was like, I have one. There's a scene from Aliens that is literally ripped directly from Aliens, where Ripley is talking to the board from Weyland-Yutani and trying to convince them that this is dangerous, that there are dangerous aliens, and they do not listen to her. Very similarly to how they don't listen to J-Lo, and even so far as having a military group who does not listen to her, just like the Marines didn't want to listen to Ripley either. So
So true. And it's
Man.
so frustrating that Sterling K. Brown's colonel says to Mark Strong, who I think is the general, "Oh, I want
Mhm.
her on this trip because she's going to have all these great insights about Harlan that she's going to give me." And then every opportunity he doesn't listen to her.
Yes.
Right up until the moment he's shushing her when he climbs into his,
Oh
and then
my
Harlan
God.
attacks the ship and everything's blowing up around them. Like, why did you
Yeah.
bring her if you're not going to listen to her?
Right? Yeah, but
So,
no, you're so
Screenplays are demanding things.
Yeah.
No, but you're so right, Evan. It's so derivative, and there's so many movies it rips from.
Totally. It
Great
doesn't do it
list.
well. But you
No,
also,
no.
but Dave, you also mentioned Sterling K. Brown, the criminally underused Sterling K. Brown in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He disappears, and then you say, okay, we didn't see him die, so he's got to be alive out there. And fuck this movie. The next time he shows up, he's getting tortured and drilled in the eyeball, and I'm so mad at the movie for showing me this horrible scene. That's the next time I see Sterling K. Brown. And then after that, he's the I'm gonna sacrifice myself to save you character. Ugh. When are people going to figure out that Sterling K. Brown is way more talented than this? Like, he should not be in like a role that's just so boring and, I don't know, just one dimensional. He can do better than this.
I was like, wait, do people not know? I mean, did they not see?
It seems like
I
it.
I guess they
based
didn't
on
see
this movie.
Waves. I guess they didn't see Waves because he's fucking phenomenal in Waves. If you haven't
A
seen
lot
it,
of people
see it.
saw This Is Us. I don't know how they
Yeah,
could.
exactly.
That show was a huge hit for 6 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking, why do we stick him in a character this boring? And we could put like anyone else, and he's giving a performance that's way better than this role
That's
even
true.
deserves, even though the writing is just dog shit.
Yeah. No, you know what, Evan, you're right, because he is in a lot of things, and he's of course always great. And he always brings gravitas and does the best, like in American Fiction and so many other roles. But he's not often a lead. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're right about that.
Needs more lead performances, damn it.
Yes.
yeah. The one that I can think of off the top of my head is that Mark Duplass movie where they're on the last two men alive.
Yes.
Anyway, Megan, you want to throw in your 2 cents?
Yeah, I didn't like this either.
Yeah.
Yeah, its derivativeness really pissed me off. And it's funny, Evan, you said on Patreon that your big sticking point for movies is if the pacing is off. And I totally understand that. My big sticking point is if the writing is dog shit. And this writing is terrible.
This is pretty bad.
So terrible. And I agree with everything you said, Evan. And I was really I always love J-Lo, even when she's in trash projects. I always love what she's doing. I always love what she's bringing to the table. And this is not a good performance from her. And she can be great because we've seen her be great in many things, but this is not really great. And I just was irritated that we're supposed to know she's really smart because she's great at chess. And
Right.
then we learn, it's not even her. She's not even the reason she's great at chess. It's because of Harlan. So it just undermines her intelligence. It just feels like everyone is undermining her intelligence throughout the entire film, which is so irritating. I will say, and I agree with you also that this looks terrible. It looks so cheesy and just badly done CGI wise. I will say though that I do like the premise of being suspicious of AI, which by the way, again, is stolen from Aliens because Ripley does not trust AI because of what happened in the first film, and that's why she doesn't trust Bishop right away. So again, it's a concept I like, but it's done vastly superior in a far superior movie. But I do like that concept of her not trusting AI and then having to work with Smith and having this, kind of symbiotic relationship and learning to lean on each other and how he needs her to let him in completely and she needs to trust him in order to fully reach their potential of the neural link. I like that conceptually. And I like that she's carrying all of this guilt, thinking that she is the reason humanity, so has had this downfall and so many millions of people died. I like the kind of exploration of that too. I just wish it was done better. And I wish the writing was vastly superior because it's lacking, unfortunately.
The writing is also not clear about whether Harlan is taking advantage of her as a child or whether it's an innocent mistake.
Yeah.
And
No,
you
that's
could-
a
you
great
could-
point.
You could argue that it's open for interpretation,
Mhm.
but I don't think they made that choice. So this is what I'm going to say about it. I thought the first 15 minutes or so were great. You know, they're hunting that AI guy,
Yeah.
Abraham. What's his name?
Cascus?
Yeah, the real
Casca,
the character.
yeah.
Casca, thank you.
Yeah, I thought, and I liked his performance, and I thought that I didn't like how it was done so much, but I liked the idea conceptually of how they separated his head and stuck it inside a suitcase, and then like, you know, did that, and he had a hidden, like, I don't know what almost like a circular saw in his mouth, and she saw it coming. That stuff was all cool. And then all of a sudden it just turns to shit. And I mean, it turns to shit immediately.
It's on a dime, yeah.
In that way, it's a lot like When a Stranger Calls. You got these fucking dynamite first 15 minutes, and then you got this thing that just goes to shit. So I was not on board with it, but I was like, I'll give it a try. And I was, I have always been critical of J-Lo as, I can't believe I'm calling her fucking J-Lo like I know her, of Jennifer Lopez as a performer, because she's very hit or miss, and she's miss in this.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that turned me off from this forever, and you two are going to think it's A, stupid, but B, totally makes sense coming from me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Is when she is doing the moving for Smith in the mech suit and she's running, they cut to shots of her from like the shoulder up so you can see her pumping like she's running.
Yep.
And it looks like the nihilists from the dream sequence in Big Lebowski. It's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid. It is one of the dumbest choices I've ever seen in a movie. It's so fucking awful.
We care about nothing, Lebowski.
We know she's running. She like fucking put her feet in the goddamn thing, and he's like, it's going to be hard for you to do this because it's 98 kilometers. And she's like, we'll do it. There's no fucking way that a person could walk 98 kilometers in 20 hours or whatever it's supposed to be. I mean, go fuck yourself.
Well, the power cells are constantly at like 0. She's like, we have 6% left. I was like, she got real far at that 6% power.
You know what though? When your iPhone gets down to 2%, it lasts for a fuck of a long time. I don't know why. You know, that last 2% it's a big 2%.
Wow, you might make me switch to iPhone because my Samsung is not that way at all. Once it gets to 2%, it's dead in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. So anyway, I agree with you both. This is just, I'm going to use a word that I hate. This movie's hella stupid.
But you know what, Dave? You're right. That beginning is great. I like the usage of the news reports and the hunt that's going on.
Yes.
That's a really strong opening.
I thought we were going to have a fucking kick-ass action movie. And then it's like, we're going to a different planet. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know. It goes awry.
I would like to invite any of our listeners to count how many times I have used the F word today. But that happens a lot when I see dog shit. So anyway, gang, do you have closing thoughts, more thoughts, not closing thoughts to continue to piss all over this piece of crap?
I'm just so disappointed because this could have been great.
It's like we have said, not an original idea, but it's a solid idea.
Right. You know? It's a solid idea.
There are lots of different ways you could do AI fucking with humanity.
Yeah. Know? And I mean, there are, oh my God, there's like hundreds, thousands of sci-fi movies that explore, the clash between AI and humanity. And like, I mean, The Day the Earth Stood Still is about, a robot is like, oh no, humanity, you can't be trusted. We're going to stop you. Like, it's been going on for decades. So yeah, but it is a solid idea. I just wish it was not so derivative and better writing and better acting, but not from Sterling K. Brown. He's great.
It's true. He is great. This movie is not, unfortunately.
No, sadly no.
Well, okay. Then let's move on from this travesty of, I was going to say celluloid, but it's clearly shot on digital.
Yes.
Our last movie of the night, is the new Richard Linklater movie. This is written by Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell, stars Glenn Powell, and it is called Hitman.
Hit Spaceman.
Hit Spaceman. Yes, that's true. He's not a spaceman. Evan means an undercarriage, like you would see on, I don't know what you call that. Here's your one sentence IMDb summary. A professor, moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department, descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services. Broadly accurate.
Sure.
The gist is, he's a boring, is he a philosophy professor? Is that what it is?
Psychology and philosophy.
Psychology and philosophy. One that you could use, one that you will not use, but that's okay. It's fun to know philosophy. He's got this kind of boring life, and his wife divorced him, although they're still friends because he's boring. And but he started working. He's like, I needed something else to do, so he starts, going to the shooting range, whatever, and he starts working for the local, like, I guess, New Orleans police department. And he is, just working in the van, doing communications, things like that. And then the cop who's the undercover guy gets in trouble. They stick Glenn Powell in his place, and he's a different person every time. And he's got a high success rate of, these people are hiring what they think is a hitman, but he's actually working for the police. And then they get arrested, and you see him in court and all these things. And then Adria Arjona shows up and, wants to have her husband killed. And he's like immediately smitten, and they hit it off, and they have a nice rapport. And he says to her, you know what? Take this money that you were going to pay me and leave right now. Go start a new life. And she does. They start seeing each other. They fall in love. The husband ends up dead. The other cop who was suspended, he gets wise to the two of them. She still thinks that, he's a hitman. It's all a bunch of like, hoo-ha-hee-hoo-hee. Three's Company kind of stuff. I don't know.
Movie.
Although it does exist for the misunderstanding in this misunderstanding. Someone punched me in the face. The misunderstanding. God damn it. I don't know what I'm going to go to the doctor tomorrow, everybody. So there are reasons that they are not communicating their intentions entirely, unlike in Three's Company. There we go. And it ends up how it ends up. So everybody, who did we start with last time? Do we start with Evan? It's one of you. Go. What do you think of Richard Linklater's Hitman?
Started with me last time. So
okay, Megan, what do you think of Richard Linklater's Hitman?
Not for me.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.
It's over. Yeah, no. So I am very hit or miss with Richard Linklater. I absolutely treasure, adore, love the Before trilogy. Some of my favorite movies. Love them. But a lot of his other films are just not my thing. Except I do love Boyhood. I think that's a great film too. And I do love his exploration of time. I find that really interesting. I like Glenn Powell. I watched him in the first thing I saw him in was that movie, Devotion, about air fighter pilots. And I was very underwhelmed. And then I saw him in Top Gun Maverick, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's all right. And then I saw him in Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney, which he is an utter delight in. And I was like, okay, I'm on board with him. And I like him in this. I think he's really good. I think he works.
I think he carries it well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He does.
Yep.
I really do. And I don't even mind the narration. I don't always like narration, but I don't mind the narration. And I've seen Adria Arjona in other things. She was great in Andor. But I don't think her and his chemistry for me really worked here. I don't believe that they really had feelings for each other. I believe they have physical chemistry, which is great, but it didn't really come together for me as far as them having a relationship. I really wish we could have gotten more of Austin Emilio, who plays Jasper. I love Austin Emilio. I loved him, and he's great in Nicole Riegel's film Holler. He's fantastic as Dwight on Walking Dead.
Yes, he is.
I love him. He is such an underrated actor. Whenever he shows up, I know he's going to give 110%. Like that's not possible. 100%. He's amazing. I
Thank you for
adore
correcting
him.
yourself.
I know. I hate when people say 110%, and then I said it, and I'm like, fuck that. I hate that shit. But anyway, I love him. He is so good. I love and adore him, and I wish he was a bigger name, bigger actor. And I like that Richard Linklater works with him, since he was also in Everybody Wants Some.
So was Glenn Powell.
Yeah. Yes. And they both are from Austin too, which I think is interesting. Yeah. So this I was really excited to see, because I had seen so much buzz, and I had read so much praise coming out of Film Fest about this. And so I was really excited to see it. And yeah, this just did not work for me. Did not come together. For me, it kept feeling like it was the start of a movie that never quite got going, weirdly. And then by the time it was almost at the end, I was like, oh my God, we have like 20 minutes left, and it's almost over. And then I really disliked the ending, not the ending where Jasper is killed, although I didn't like that he died, but it was the after, like the coda, where they're together and now they're married and they have 2 kids, and it's this very boring life, which I think is very interesting. The whole time he's putting on this persona to be someone else, because he overhears Retta and the other detective talking about how they don't want to hang out with Gary, who he is. They want to hang out with Ron, his hitman undercover persona. And so then he kind of keeps that going. And it's interesting that that's what he's like. It's all about, seize the day, carpe diem, and put yourself out there and take chances, take risks. And then in the end, it just is very milquetoast. And I'm like, is this the point? That everyone, settles down, calms down? I don't know. It just didn't quite, it didn't quite work for me. But Glenn Powell, he's a delight.
Evan, take it away.
Well, I liked this movie a lot more than you did.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I think for me, the voiceover really doesn't work. And I think if it was entirely excised from the movie, it would be better, for one.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Two,
Yeah,
I don't think there would be any measurable difference for me. Like, I don't think I'd be missing anything from it. I think it would be much sharper. I like Glenn Powell in this. I remember first seeing him in Everybody Wants Some and really thinking he was good. And so I'd been hearing a lot of stuff about this, and I was, okay, I'm coming in with, like medium expectations. And I found like I really enjoyed this movie. I liked the kind of intersection of, you have this guy who's super nerdy and milquetoast in his daily life, falling into this career as a surveillance guy, and then as an undercover cop pretending to be a hitman, and how he tailors all of his different personas to the people that he's trying to entrap. Is the best word to use, even though they would say, oh, it's not entrapment. And I like seeing all the different characters that he comes up with, especially Ron. And Megan, you were talking about when his coworkers, he's accidentally left on the phone with them, and when they're in the conference room. And I just found that scene utterly hilarious while they were talking about, like, I don't want to hang out with Gary, but I would hang out with Ron. I would fuck Ron. And they're both like going on and on about how they would have sex with Ron.
I'd take up my IUD for Ron as a movie. A line I never thought I'd hear in a movie.
It felt very much
good
like
line.
it felt very much like a scene out of Parks and Rec, because Retta, I feel like, would go on like kind of one up moments in Parks and Rec like that. So I actually had quite a bit of fun with this. I liked the kind of intersection of the undercover work and his work as a teacher, and seeing how the lessons were kind of like mirroring things that were going on, and like personal struggles with like identity and exploring his identity, and how Ron starts to take over more and more in different aspects of his life, especially like when he's on the witness stand and the attorney tries to bully him, and he just turns into Ron for a minute and gets in the guy's face, not actually in his face, but he comes out very aggressively on the stand and shuts down the lawyer. So I was digging that stuff. Where I don't remember where I was going with this, but basically I enjoyed it. I didn't care for the voiceover at all. I kind of see what you're saying about the chemistry not being the strongest with Adria Arona. I kind of agree with that. It's not super strong chemistry. It's that part is a little bit of a bummer. And I like Austin Melio in this, and I love him from Walking Dead and the iterations, both the regular Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. I think he's great in this. He's so good at playing a kind of slime ball character, playing this dirty cop who gets wise to them and then, blackmails them or tries to blackmail them and they kill him. I was kind of okay with the we're settled down and leading a boring life because I think that was kind of the point when he was talking about I eventually found kind of the right balance for me between Gary and Ron, which I guess for him is I'm a little bit cool and funny, but I'm also a family man and still a nerd probably that it goes bird watching on the weekend.
I know, but he doesn't have cats anymore. That pissed me off.
Oh, I didn't realize that there were no cats involved.
There was no cats. There was just dogs, unless I missed a cat. Yeah, and
no,
he's not watering his plants.
Maybe Ron doesn't have
I think that's the thing.
Animals,
But that's my point, is that if it was a true balance, wouldn't it have been an actual balance? I don't know. It just, it feels like it's Ron it still feels like it's Ron. Like it's a persona, but I hear you. The one thing that I'm glad you talked about was the philosophical elements, because that very much reminded me of The Good Place in using philosophy to kind of explore ideas of relationships and identity and morality. And I do like that that is incorporated in this.
And it's like he becomes a stronger teacher as a result
yes,
of going through all this stuff too. You notice that his class gets bigger and bigger. By the end, he's teaching in a huge lecture hall where he's got a ton of students. And then, the students are more intellectually engaged in the material as well. Yes. So I don't know. That was working for me.
And they find him hotter.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he's a more confident guy, without being cocky.
Yes.
So,
but the funny thing is, you're totally right, Dave. But the funny thing about that is, right from the start, his teaching style, I found he was very, very confident right away. Like, it seems to be the only part of his life he is really confident in when we start. So, anyway.
I think I come somewhere between you two. I think that, I didn't even remember this had a voiceover, so obviously it didn't have an impact on me. But this took me this movie's about 2 hours long, took me about 3.5 hours to watch. So never a good sign. Be like, oh, I heard the laundry ding. Got to go put that shit in the dryer. That's never a thought you want to have while you're watching a movie.
No. And
I tend to like Richard Linklater more than I don't. But the movies of his that don't work for me don't work for me. And this is kind of interesting in that it's sort of in between. I think Glenn Powell is fantastic in this. I've never really thought about him much. Obviously, he's got that big supporting role in Top Gun Maverick, which he's very showy and charismatic in. But he's terrific in this. And I like Adria Arona. I felt like their sexual chemistry when they're role playing and all that shit kind of worked okay. Mostly because it was interesting to watch him be caught off guard and then start to get into it as it went along. But I do agree with you both that the way they proclaimed their love for each other kind of suddenly out of nowhere. She's been saying for 3 or 4 scenes, this is just a thing, whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like, I love you, and she's like, I do too. Bleh.
He says, right. I think I love you, and she says, I think I love you too.
But I also just have this sort of problem with, she ends up, her husband tries to hire Ron to kill her, and he blows his cover and basically says to the husband, because they bump into him outside of a bar one night, and so when he turns around, the husband recognizes him, scares the shit out of him, and he goes off. But then the husband ends up dead. and it turns out that what's her name? Madison, Jesus
the character.
Christ.
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
like, what is her name?
That Madison
Yes.
killed him. But I do like the way that she reveals, Ron comes over to her apartment and he's like, he's been talking to, he works with the police. And so he knows all about this and they know about her and they don't know that they're having a relationship. Although maybe Jasper has figured it out that by then, I'm not sure. Right. He saw them at the ice
says he's
cream
been
shop.
following
them
That's
for a
right.
while.
Yep.
But anyway, when he goes in there and she just says, and he's like, and he ended up dead. She's like, well, I killed him. And he's just the way she just says it so nonchalantly. It's just like, oh, are you in for a surprise, babe? This is not going to go down how you thought it would. And I liked that scene a lot because of him just, being like, I'm not really a hitman. I work for the police. But I don't think that I buy necessarily, there's this whole thing in the movie about how you can change your personality and you can decide you're this kind of person and then become that kind of person. So is she the kind of person who just decided in that moment she could kill her husband and then she would go back to being herself? Or is she the kind of person who can kill people?
I think she can kill people because she tried to hire him before and then she killed him and then she kills Jasper.
Well, he killed Jasper technically.
Coda,
she started it, but he finished it.
Well, technically, but she still drugged him. And then in the coda, when the teacher in the preschool is like, "Oh, thanks so much for bringing the cookies," blah 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 was going to bring them, but then she bailed, and I could have strangled her. And clearly, just figure of speech. And she like perks up, like, "Ooh, like ooh, another murder." Like, so I think that was the thing too. I was like, it's one thing to pretend to be this badass. But would Gary or Ron, either of them, really want to be with someone who actually is a murderer? Like, I don't know. Felt far-fetched to me.
I think. Yeah, it does feel emotionally dubious as to whether he would want to see that relationship through based on who he is.
Right.
I did also really like the scene where he's supposed to go question her and he's recording it, but he's showing her his phone and guiding the questioning. I thought that was actually very funny and well done. The way he was able to warn her and direct the conversation. I thought that was a smart use of the notepad feature on a phone.
Yes. That was well executed.
So,
pun intended.
Yeah, so we got one person it didn't work for, one who it was hit or miss for. I am correct, of course. And Evan liked it a lot. So. I mean, it's not all bad.
I would say we're all correct in our own ways.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I need to be right. So who cares?
No, you don't say.
I actually don't need to be right. But
no, I know.
Yeah, I don't know. This is, this is the kind of movie that should work for me because it's funny. I mean, it's not hilarious and it's not trying to be hilarious, but it is light on its feet.
It's cheeky.
Cheeky.
Ooh, cheeky.
Yeah.
Good word.
It's cheeky.
I don't know, but yeah, I'm just somewhere. It's parts worked, parts don't, I think one of the things,
I would agree with that.
One of the things that's interesting to me about Richard Linklater is how, I think of a lot of filmmakers and how they evolve, and I don't really see him evolving. He just kind of directs everything in the same manner, I think. I don't find too much difference in his approach tonally between everything is, language's not the right word, but everything is laid back,
Yes, I see what you mean. Laid back is a good description of his
even Boyhood, which should, that's kind of the perfect way to use laid back because you're just sort of observing this kid's life, not the huge moments, the everyday moments, and it works. It works for what's the one with all the stoner kids? Dazed and Confused, and it even works for School of Rock, even though it shouldn't, but in something like this, I think you need more like punch and like vim and vigor,
Mm-hmm.
A little more style. I think when you get to the stylized mugshots, it feels almost out of place with the rest of the movie.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. I think you guys are nailing partly why it didn't work for me. It feels very disjointed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there was some real like comedy to be mined in her admission that she killed her
Mhm.
husband. And instead,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know if, and I said I like Glenn Powell's performance, and I do, but I'm not sure that scene, it doesn't work so well because I just feel like it should have been funnier. I don't even know how to make it funnier, but it was like, of course we knew that she killed him. So this admission should be like,
Oh, yeah.
he should, I don't know, his reaction should have been different from what it was.
I think
Yeah.
it needed to be bigger. I think his reaction needed to be bigger, which is a
Mhm.
weird thing to say when someone in a scene is shouting, "I'm not a hitman," and throwing his arms up and looking extremely distressed. But I feel like he needed to go bigger with that reaction, like much
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, no, because I mean, who did any of us not think that she, as soon as you find out that the husband is dead, did any of us not think that she
No.
killed him?
But-
No,
Like, it was
'cause
so
he gave her
obvious.
the idea of
Yeah.
what to do.
Right,
He
exactly.
gave her ideas on how
Right,
to kill
right.
him.
Right. So no, I think you're absolutely right, Evan. And it is funny because because a lot of times, being more restrained or pulling back a bit, or editing early, getting, ending a film early, those things can work. But I agree with you. I think it needed to be a bigger
Yeah.
reaction.
I don't know. And the thing that's funny is so she kills the husband, obviously, and we all knew that. But I was interested in her explanation also, which is like, well, he came to you to kill me. So, like, I just thought I had to kill him. It has like, I really kind of like this whole, could we explore the, am I lying? Am I not lying thing? But it turns out that
Yes.
it would seem, with him at least, she's completely, she's not planning to kill him eventually. She's not like Sharon Stone at the end of Basic Instinct with the ice pick under the bed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I was wondering if this movie, there was a point in the middle where I was wondering if it was going to turn into the kind of like classic femme fatale where maybe she was buttering him up to try to goad him into killing the husband for free or something like that.
Right.
And I was actually glad
Me
it didn't
too.
go that way.
Yeah, that crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
So mixed bag. Okay, fine.
But I have to say, I still kept wondering, like, when she first comes to Ron to hire him, and she's like, oh, it's a bad situation. My husband's so controlling. He has me on a diet. He won't let me cut my hair. Like, kind of all these things that are so textbook controlling and gross and, borderline abuse or straight up abuse. And, I'm thinking about this and I'm like, we're laying it on a little thick. I'm like, we don't know that she's a reliable narrator, which is also very disturbing because, the whole implication of, women being dishonest about abuse when we should be believing women. So that was all kind of dubious for me too. But then, and then later when they run into her husband before he is killed and like the way he acts, it's like he doesn't seem to know what the hell she's talking about. So the whole framing of her, it's like, and her, veracity and authenticity, it's just strange. It left me with more questions and kind of like feeling uneasy and not in a good way about her depiction as a character and how the film is framing.
Yeah, I think she's
framing
underdeveloped
her.
in that way. And I think that,
Absolutely.
you could have stuck some stuff into it performance wise, but I think, no, I don't know this for sure, but it seems like she's acting what's on the page and that's it. That doesn't seem like there's a lot of subtext there. And I don't really necessarily think that's her fault. I think that this script is it's fine. It's not really great. I mean, the lead actor co-wrote it. So, what are you going to do? Some actors write great screenplays, Emma Thompson. So, whatever. But, yeah, I think I feel like this is sort of a collective Dr. Chris moment for the three of us.
I will say, speaking of the writing and how you said the lead wrote it, I do think it's interesting that Richard Linklater does a lot of work with writing with his actors, since Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy also were co-writers. and then Glenn Powell on this. So I think that's interesting in his relationship with actors and how he works with them in the way they write their characters and write the screenplay. Find it fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we've obviously come to the correct conclusions on this. Does anybody have anything else to say before we hit the road? Jack, Megan, and Evan?
I like the all pie is good pie comment.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's a cute touch. And I also thought it was really funny the kid who wanted to kill his mom was trying to pay him with PlayStation 5 games and some money and some loose change.
I will say I do like that he's like something about preventing this future school shooter because the kid is such a jerk.
Yeah,
I disagree that all pie is good pie. I mean, there is strawberry rhubarb pie, which whoever invented that shit should be drawn and quartered. And the same with sweet
rhubarb is
potato
delicious.
pie. Okay, so
That's
you are
also
incorrect.
delicious.
You are incorrect, and I'm putting it on record.
Oh, and I loved the end credits where we find out about the real Gary Johnson, and then the part they slid in there, and we made up the murder.
All of
The
this
murder
is true,
didn't happen.
except
We
for the
made that
murder.
up.
Yeah.
Except for the murder, the big part of the movie.
Cute.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do a quick recap here. I would say Furiosa, your mileage would vary, but I would also say that if you like the Mad Max movies generally, absolutely you have to see it, and see it on a big screen, because when it doesn't look corny, it looks great. It was a stupid thing to say. I think we can all agree that Atlas is a no-go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let me guess here. For Hitman, we got one pass, one yes, and one your mileage may vary. They kind of cancel each
Sounds
other
right.
out. So that leads me to say, don't see it. Megan, what?
No, I was going to say, I probably would say your mileage may vary. I mean, for me, I would say no. Like me personally, I'd be like, yeah, no, it's not worth it. But I think other people would
That's
get
the
a lot
interesting
out of
thing about
this.
it. And I swear I'm going to stop talking about it. It's like, even though it might not necessarily be for you, it's not bad. It's not the kind of movie where you're like, this sucks.
No, No, it's not bad by any
Yeah.
means. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of like, I think your mileage may vary. I don't know if I'd say a hard no on that like I would with Atlas. Sadly.
Yeah, that is a hard no, isn't it? Okay. Well, everybody, thank you for staying with us. We told you how we feel about the movies. I want to thank our editor, Otto Clamor, for making us sound great every week. Thank you so much, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
Thanks, Otto.
You can find Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. If you want to check out our website, we're spoilerpiece.com. On social media, we're Spoiler Piece Theater at Spacebook. I am losing it. At Facebook. And we're at Spoiler Piece on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and I'm probably forgetting something. You can email spoilerpiece@gmail.com if you would like to get in touch with us, and please tell us how you feel about Richard Linklater's body of work and how this fits into it, etc., etc. And if you would rather call us and leave a message, you can do so at
862-21-PEACE.
We value your voicemails. We listen to them all. Anyway.
We do.
If you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing us. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece, or you can check us out and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out a lot, builds up our profile. And if you really, really like the show, please consider joining our Patreon. As I mentioned at the top, we talked about Doctor Strangelove for its 60th anniversary, and two of us had not seen it, and we had a whole hell of a lot of fun talking about it. And that is the show. My name is Dave Riedel. I write for stuff, and I do things, and I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
My name is Evan Crean. I am co-chair of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, co-author of your 80s Movie Guide to Better Living, and co-host of the It's the Pictures podcast. And I will say that this most recent episode of that show, we're joined by Chris Pauly from Film Trace, who we've had on this show, and we've all been on the Film Trace show. So recommend checking that out. And yeah, you can follow me on social media as Real Recon, and that's real as in film reel.
And my name is Megan Kearns. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast. I too am a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Opinioness World. We're on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinioness.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.